Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Okay, tonight I think we are going to pick up kind of in the same place we left off on last time, except for backing up all the way. So last time we looked at the numeric up-down control and dealing with a PR there. There was some coerce stuff. There was some feedback that got left on the PR after I had merged it, and I think it's probably worth going back and taking a look at and cleaning it up. It seems like I may have missed the mark a little bit. Um, yeah, so we'll take a look at that. And then I have a lot more Velopack stuff to be cranking on. So we will see how it goes. I've also been, yeah, I've been contemplating a couple extra streaming things, but that'll be potentially for a later point. Okay, so if I can remember, let's go down in this corner. Yay. Okay, so I need to get myself back into this one. Kenny, welcome. Yes, stream time, happy time. And today, I'm trying to decide. Got multiple flavors of Mountain Dew next to me. We're gonna start the code red. I think that's where we're gonna lead. We're gonna go there. That seems like a good one. Okay, so we're gonna jump in here. Origin master. Then let's take a look at some of these PRs because there are a lot of them out here. Let's see. Do view code and suggest changes. Yeah, go ahead and add it. And boom. Okay, so uh ah, this is a good one. Okay, so something worth noting on this one. Inside of WPF, there is, and I guess it's true in several UI applications, but what often happens is you have a UI thread that is sitting in a loop. Right? It's responsible for handling things. And so when you want to change the UI or add elements, what often happens is an element is marked as invalid or needs measure or similar. And there are multiple passes. And the idea here is that there's a first pass, which is effectively a measure, figure out how you are. And then there's a layout pass, or in this case, a range, right? Where it's now that I've measured how big all of my stuff needs to be, especially in relation to each other, right now I'm going to lay them out and set them at that size, which is effectively where this is landing. And I am confused as to where this line even came from, right? Because this guy here, and let me make this a little bigger, right? So inside, so this is inside of the badge control, and as part of the badge control, there is a badge container, and up here we can see that a badge container is any arbitrary UI element, right? Great. It's the thing that the badge gets associated to, and this one here. Let me look at the blame on this guy because I am curious where I'm willing to bet that came in like with a bad merge or something. Let's see here. Well, this one isn't it. Yeah, that isn't it. Renamed, it's probably over here. And then, oh boy, oh boy. I hate that. So today has been a bad day for me. Everything I've discovered has been past Kevin's fault. Past Kevin was an idiot. Nullable reference types. Uh-oh. 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 Is this really me? Whole block was done by me. See, this is what I mean by past Kevin was an idiot. Okay. Let me just I have to look now. I'm already in too deep. Let me move myself whoop, over to this side. Yeah. Hush. Hush, get cracking. I understand. I understand. We're unhappy. We are sad. Let's see. It's going to be here. It's going to be here. What did the left side look like before I refactored this? Where did I pull this from? Oh, interesting. Okay, so this was badged EX. Oh, okay. I know something about this. Okay. May have even done this on stream. Let's see. If we go and look up uh, Trolls EX, I wonder if the same bug exists here. Because for a long time, the material design library relied on Controls EX, but as things kind of started moving and diverging, we broke that because it was a bigger dependency for not a lot of gain. Look at that. Oh, my big head is in the way. My big head is in the way. Look at that. Right there, too. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Okay, if anybody wants to snipe another PR, Controls EX library, badgedx.cs. You probably want the same change. Okay. This is, let's jump to the PR. So approve and run. This is a wonderful change. We are going to accept it. The only reason I can think why this is here is to guarantee that margin shows, or guarantee that property change occurs for margin. It's the only reason I can come up with why this would exist. But if the margin's already the same, then this doesn't matter. Like I don't understand why you do it. So I have to believe it's potentially an accident. So let's see here. We are going to put this in here. We are going to. I want to release notes this guy. Putting there. Enable auto merge. Enable auto merge. Great. Bippity boppity booyah. Off to the races. Okay. Let's see. Fix clear button. Okay, so the clear button differs slightly from the other controls. Oh, I have a feeling I need to actually look at this PR in the browser. Oh no, it renders it. Oh, look at that. A few template bindings were missing. Got it. Okay. And I think that was legitimately just those two template bindings. So easy approve. Let's see. We are going to push this thing in here. And we are going to squash merge. Bippity boppity booyah. Okay, so let's close. Yeah. Get cracking. You lost your mind. Well, that's interesting. If you close the PR remotely, oh, it goes crazy. Interesting. Add that to my list. Let's see. Foreground of pop-up box is missing part toggle. Oh, we're just gonna keep going here. I need a way to clean up my remote. Wait, do I seriously have 99 remotes? No, I have 99 branches that are in remotes. Okay. That seems more like it. Okay. Cuz I collect remotes. They're like Mountain Dew flavors. You got to catch them all. That's the way I like to think. Yes, Kenny, I am trying to entice people. This is how work gets done. Could I do it? Yes. But I'm sharing the joy. Let's see here. Okay, the toggle button here, this is also just another template binding. Fixes 3782. So I just want to look at 3782 really quick and make sure that there is, I want to just make sure that this is lined up. When foreground is set to the pop-up box, yep. And Corvins, thank you for the comment. That was perfect handling of that issue. So Oh, and set the milestone and the label. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. Yep. So we're just going to approve. And squash merge, squash merge. Look at that. Just cruising through all of these. We're going to have a 5.3 release very shortly. And we'll test and see if my pipeline actually works. Let's see. Add radio button and checkbox custom foreground. I think these last two are ones that we've looked at before, and I don't know that they are ones I was going to take. This is the draft one that's still sitting there. Yeah, this one. This one I'm a little yeah. This one I'm hesitant on. We may end up rejecting. Okay, so actually that's the. So the thing that I wanted to look at is on the closed PR from last week. I think it was this one that we did. Nope. Yeah, this is the one. So this is the one that we were working on last week around the numeric up down stuff, and specifically the because we went through and handled these couple cases, but then Corvins and Nikolai both kind of threw in on this. Yeah. Oh, look at this, and even a branch and everything. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Because I had recommended, I'm like, okay, clearly I'm not understanding something about this, and so part of me asking for a branch or a UI test was as a way of making sure I actually understand the problem, because that is one of the hardest things in programming. If you ever want to feel dumb, pair program with somebody, but you're not allowed to touch the keyboard or the mouse, right? You have to verbally communicate technical things and get stuff to happen quickly. It is remarkably difficult to communicate about code. It takes a lot of effort here. So let's see. There's a problem where the value of numeric up-down control can go out of sync with the bound property in the view model. And something I want to look at is I'm not 100% convinced that those two being out of sync is the value property being out of sync, I think, is problematic, but the text being out of sync, I think, is desirable. So I'll word it that way. The numeric control doesn't have a text property, but internally there is a text box, and I am okay with those ones happening because the binding itself is what controls when the update should occur, right? A binding with an update source trigger typically occurs on lost focus, right? If you want it to occur on property changed, you should set the update source property to property change so that it occurs then. The control, I don't believe, should change that, right? It should be in control of the app author to decide when they want that to occur. But let's go through this and make sure that I'm on here. So set the maximum of the up-down control to any type, set the value equal to the maximum, enter a new value greater than the maximum. I think I see the problem here. So you type in 555, move focus, and the view model gets the wrong one. The test is crashing. Okay. Oh, this is just beautiful. Corvins is awesome. Okay, so I need Corvins, fix numeric up down. I think I already have the remote added. So exit review. Okay, so step one, we need to start hiding some remotes because I got too many remotes showing up here at the moment. There. Okay, there's the Corvins ones, and I need reset master up. Let's see. Fix auto suggest. What's the branch name again? Fix numeric up down. Let's see here. Fix. Coerce to max. This one. This is the one. Like, it's got to be a recent one. Okay, so here's this. Let's take. Hey, Fury. Welcome. Let's take a quick gander. I'm going to put myself over on this side. I just want to see. Yeah, it has been a while. How are you doing? So, let's see. So, set up an up-down control, set up a view model, bound the sucker up. Everything looks good. Wrote a test. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Okay, let's go run it. And UI tests. For anyone confused, this UI test thing is based on a library I wrote called XAML test. XAML test's purpose in life is to test material design in XAML. That is its purpose in life. Some people I found out for other things. It's great. Glad it's useful for other things. But it's serving its prime directive right now, which is make me feel better. Awesome, Fury. We are diving in and playing around with potentially fixing one of my mistakes from last time. So that's exciting. Let's see here. This guy here. So simple guy. I'm curious why is the community toolkit not running on this? Ooh, rebuild our API from Net Framework 4.6 to Net 8. Ooh, that is wonderful. That there is, I assume part of that is revving up to latest ASP.NET. Because there's a lot of goodness inside of there. I'm trying to figure out how to import Excel and some files in a web app. Oh, I should. Was it? Ping me again next week on it. There was a library a colleague was telling me about just the other day that works really well for Office files. Because when dealing with like Excel and whatnot, right, you can't leverage libraries that require interop with the actual Office DLLs because you aren't going to have Office installed on your web server typically. I know some people who do. But there was another library that they were using and they were singing its praises, and I'm trying to remember what it was. It was I filed the name away in my head and was like, I shouldn't forget this, and then I forgot it. So clearly that filing needs work. Because there's multiple projects I've worked on where we've had to deal with Office files effectively in a say a Linux environment or in a container or similar, and this one was an all managed library, and I'm trying to remember which one it was because there's a lot of kind of meh libraries out there for dealing with Excel and similar. But there is at least one out there that a colleague thinks. Yeah, like we have a desktop app. Okay, yeah. Yeah, and desktop makes it significantly easier if you can assume that. Yeah, no, it's not NPOI because NPOI was great, but um, it like NPOI is wonderful if you want to do Office at the XML level. Like it is great, but it's kind of low level for what it needs to do. Any Excel, I don't know that one. This one, Ben, it was Grant who was telling me about it, and I cannot remember what name he said. .NET's processing Excel tool. Interesting. This one I haven't come across before. That's going on my star list. Ooh. Yeah, at present, most popular. Yeah, this is another thing to watch out for. A lot of libraries try to load everything into memory. This is bad, especially for a web-based thing, because you can get just hammered. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to import those files in a web application. Yeah, so depending on what you need to do with it, there are, like, when you switch from desktop to web, one of the key changes that has to occur is switching to kind of a request response setup. And background processing, like in a desktop app, is a lot easier than it is in the web. Because if you just do the processing on import, you've now got this really long running request, which kind of sucks. A much better structure is kind of a queuing model where on the import, the item gets put into a queue and something else on the background processes it and then updates, and then the caller checks for when that thing's done. Some sort of separation. Like, there's some things that are just harder to do, and I'm lost. Um, okay. Promise not to steal all my secrets. Okay, here we go. For example, so this is the Velopack library, and one of the things that it has to do is deal with people uploading releases. So Velopack, cross-platform installer and updater framework. I'm a founder, so I'm biased. It's the best. Um, but as part of that, people have to upload their release packages, right? So not, I think, fairly akin to what you're talking about doing, right? So on the release upload, and there's some middleware to do like the validation and security and all that kind of stuff. But what it ends up doing is it takes the upload with the upload request, streams it into a, I believe it's here, streams it into a storage account, and then queues up an item on a queue where there is a background worker watching those queue to process the files. That way, when the files come up, because these are installers, and so an installer can be kind of big because apps can be kind of big, like a gig, 2 gigs, 3 gigs, like yuck. Like, hopefully your Excel files aren't that big. Um, but it throws it onto a queue, and then the processor goes through, pulls it off the queue, and then rips through um, processing it is kind of effectively how it is done. But that does mean that the client then has to effectively, in my case, ping the API to say, is it done yet? Is it done yet? Is it done yet? Ah, it's done now, right? Like, so there's a little bit of that. Whereas in a desktop app, we would just do like task run and start the processing, right? Background processing is cheap because we don't have to worry about network connections and holding things open and that kind of thing. So yeah. Uh, and I have to bind the Excel register to the files I'm uploading. Yeah, that is one of the things when you go from desktop to web that is somewhat hard, because there are certain things that are just harder in web. Like, I work on video processing tools, and that is one of the things where it's like everybody's like, oh, we want it in the web. It's like location of data matters, right? If somebody has a big video file locally on their computer, it's much easier for a desktop app to process it than it is for a web app, because the web app needs that file. It needs to be able to read through that file and access and do stuff. And yeah, there's cheater things you can do with, like, in the browser, local access and that kind of thing, but it's like, it's not, the moment you want to start pushing it up and moving it around, like, you have to move that data around, and it's not trivial. Data streams, when we start talking about big stuff, is hard. Like this. Let's see. Start, upload spreadsheet and files, read spreadsheet, extract records. If there are more records, show summary, end. Yes. Get file name, file exists. Update record path. Next record. And then loops back through. Okay, so what is your client also web, or is it a thick client? I guess it doesn't matter that much, right? Because at the end of the day, if they upload the spreadsheet and files, it's this and files that gives me a bit of pause, because I'm guessing what is implied here is there's records in the spreadsheet that reference the files or similar. Like, I could see a desktop client right now but it's going to be web. That's why. Got it. Okay. So they upload the files, and honestly, multi-file uploads adds an interesting problem because, like in the case of Velopack, I effectively have a state machine. Like this upload box is a flow diagram for me on the upload, because I've effectively got, the group of files starts the upload. They're being uploaded. The file group is marked as closed and ready for processing. So there's like 3 stages for my for this box before I go into the reading box. Yeah, they upload the Excel file with the file path. Yeah, I assume ASP.NET Core on the back end. Are you doing minimal APIs or like controllers? Yeah, because this thing here, I would potentially controllers. Okay. I think some of what I have is going to be potentially similar. I did minimal API, so it gets a little bit different. But with the controllers, you can still do the iForm file on your controller method to be able to ingest it. This expects let's see if I remember right, a MIME type of multi-part file. So if you have like a web front end with a form and a file input field, that's what will get sent through. Uh, these things here kind of ignore, because these are all me cheating with middleware to populate the rest of the data, right? This is for you on a controller. These would be constructor parameters. For me, they are parameters on a static method because that's how I get them in on a minimal API. But I think the key thing I would suggest is breaking up this flow right here, right around the top of this, because I think you are going to want to have something to separate the uploady bit from the do work bit, right? Because you're going to need to upload the files, and then more importantly, you're going to have to put these somewhere, right, to be able to go through and process them. And you also have to concern. Let me screenshot this. No problem. Yeah, because like I said, the way I handled it on mine is my upload step is kind of broken into 3 parts, where there's the client does, okay, I'm starting to upload multiple files. Then there's the I'm uploading files, and then there's I'm done uploading files. And so that kind of just locks my unit of work in. That unit of work, which we call it a release group inside of Velopack, but that's kind of implementation detail. Once that unit of work is done, it goes through and then starts processing. And once you upload, you have to put the data somewhere. Like in my case, it's a storage account as a blob, but it could go anywhere, right? Uh, temp folder on the machine. Ugh. Get the file, upload to a temp folder on the machine, and we extract the data. Okay. That, yeah. So after that, we upload the files. Interesting. Okay. Make sure I got this right. Right now, we get the file, upload to a temp folder in the machine. I assume when you say a temp folder in the machine, that is on the web server. I think that's correct. Then we extract the data. After that, we upload the files. And in the Excel, it has a column named blah, and that has the file names. Okay, great. Match that column, and then I assume it's from that column name. Go grab the file, and that's where we get this bit of logic down here, right? So when we're ripping through, we're reading that column name, and then if the file exists, great. They uploaded a matching file, great. We update the record path. If not, show error message. And this is another area where things may not play well inside of this, right? Because this whole section down here is kind of a like This is really a processing thing. And like in a desktop app, show error message is easy, right? You pop up an error message. But in a web app, you have to get that error message all the way back to the front end client, which potentially means, failing the request or having a JSON payload that goes back from the server to the web front end that has the error message inside of it. That's where things start to get wonky, and especially if you're doing this like, so uploading to the server and putting in a temp directory gives me a bit of pause. And it depends on your app, right? And like, if you control the users and you control the server, this may not be that bad, right? Depending on what it is. If this were something public facing, I'd be going, yay, that sounds terrifying. Because somebody could always upload too big of a file, right? And there are controls in ASP.NET to limit byte sizes of your uploads. That's fine. You can keep it from getting too big. But putting it up there and then going and acting on it, like, this is where it starts to get weird, because your web server that's supposed to be handling those request response is now spending time doing all of this and processing that data. And and there's a question to be had here, right? Like, if this entire box doesn't take that long to do, it may not be a big deal, right? If processing time is cheap and doing all of this work is usually really fast, fine, do it on the upload. Not a big deal. What's up, Izzy? Just reviewing something from Fury real quick. So if you're doing this processing and it's fast, doing it as part of your controller method that takes the upload is not technically that bad, right? Like, you can get away with this. That's not bad. But the moment processing starts to take a while, or files get big, or things get arbitrary, or it's public facing, or any of those things, you start to run into weird stuff, right? Like, if this is an internal company application, you control the users, right? The more assumptions you can make about the domain, the easier problems get. The fewer assumptions you can make about the domain, the harder the problems get. And so if it, in those cases, like Revelopack, I can make very few assumptions on the files that are coming up, because they're installers that are going to be effectively zipped packed apps, which means they'll contain anything and everything, and hopefully not, but potentially malicious code. And so I intentionally put them in a side queue that I can then spend time processing, because my processing isn't going to be quick. I need to go through and, validate for malware, for example, before I let something float all the way through, because it's like, maybe we don't let that thing through. I can make loads of assumptions. Let me clarify, Izzy. The more correct assumptions you can make, the easier. So yeah, so without like a lot of domain knowledge of what you're going for, my gut reaction would be, this box becomes multiple steps, right? In terms of uploading. Putting it on a temp directory too also doesn't horizontally scale well. But again, it depends on what you're doing, right? If all the files are coming up as a single request and it's landing there, and you control the servers, and you know that disk size and things like that aren't going to be a problem, maybe not a big deal, right? Especially if it's like an internal company app, you can probably get away with it, right? The moment you start horizontally scaling things out, where it's like, oh, I might want to make this thing handle more load, well, that's going to be a problem, because if you start talking file system, that's now locked to a single machine. It does not horizontally scroll. Yeah. Using your tips, I got the attention of the project manager, etc. But now, yeah, Fury. No, I get it. Well, and that, if it makes you feel better, it's better to know sooner rather than later, right? Like, most of the time, if I get called in to help with a project, it's usually like 3 months after I would have liked to be involved in the project. It's like, yeah, people, you started a hole and then you kept digging. So it's like, it is worth noting, but it's good. It's good that you acknowledge it, but it's also worth kind of thinking through. Like, we've got one project right now that's a desktop app where the client really wants to move a lot of it to web, which is great, right? Like, a lot of things are moving to web, but the key thing that we've been focused on is how is that functionality going to work in the web, right? Because you have to kind of rethink how things are expected to work, because now, like in a desktop app, everything lives in the desktop app. It's in the one process, right? The moment you say a web-based application, you've got at minimum two, right? You've got your API process and you've got your browser process. And those at minimum, you're even if those lived on the same machine, you've got at least two things now that are working, and figuring out how that communication works adds a little bit of complexity. Um, just need to have my data store framework. Sadly, my old company still has not open sourced it. Yeah. Um, oh, I'm just gonna show this off real quick too. Toolkit data sync. So this is a library. Is this it? This is it. Yeah, this is the guy. This is the guy. So, um, wow. Oh, is this? Oh, this is the Avalonia Tim. This is the Avalonia Tim. So data sync, because so many people have the idea of and this is not meant for web. So Fury, disregard this. This is not for you. This is for anybody building a desktop app. But for people who have to build a thick client application and deal with syncing back and forth, this is a very reasonable library for doing this. Please don't build your own sync system. Izzy's comment with the data store framework kind of got me thinking about this. This is intended to be that effectively store and forward based system, right? Uh, yeah, horrible idea. Web app using data sync. Yeah, don't do that. Web apps, kind of by definition, typically work in an online manner, and the few that work in an offline manner, there's special stuff. But this is your thick client store and forward based style application, so it uses light on the client, and then comes with a set of controllers that you plug in on the back end, and then you can plug in different databases on your um, API, and then things go back and forth. No more requests, just ship your DB back and forth. Yeah. So, but if for anybody looking to do that, please do not build your own data sync framework. Please use this one. Adrian built it. Adrian's a wonderful man, and it's a pretty cool framework. So, yeah. So if anybody has that, check it out. Okay. I was losing my mind on this, I think. So I wanted to look real quick at what was being done here, and I cannot resist the urge to clean stuff up when I see it because reasons. This goes here. Let's see. Expose it here so I can access it in the test. My framework is better, but is probably still in a Faraday cage somewhere. Yeah. I will say, like, the data sync stuff is largely built by one guy. If you look at the Git repo, you'll see my name as a contributor on it because I saw a few small things and decided to snipe them. Okay. We got this. Button to focus, button to focus. There's this. Great. Why do we have a separate window here? Ah. Okay. The loaded event handler here. Ah, okay. This is I have the scope of implementation. I was talking to you. I think it's nothing private for you to see. Oh, okay. Oh, cool. Yeah. Over. Yeah, Fury, feel free. Uh, Off-topic question and funny story maybe. Uh-oh, Izzy. Are you the one telling the funny story or am I? Okay. So the window part we may not need because this kind of window is what the XAML test framework does. Sorry to bring personal the stream, but you helped me a lot. Oh, no problem, Fury. No, I enjoy helping people and stuff on here. Hold on, I gotta copy this. That's a gotta grab my. Sorry, I gotta do this so I have a uh I've got a way of keeping track and organizing all my thoughts. I am going to keep track of this. Uh, here. Oh, and I got mixed up stuff in here. This is why I need things. Let's see. A copy all that. 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 Uh. Okay, so let's see. Then I've got Izzy here. Let's see. Have you ever automated anything for cheap checking against an NV database? Izzy, what do you mean by cheap checking? Not sure I that. Okay, let me. So, sorry, I got to format this thing, which is bad about formatting, and so now I have to format stuff quick. Bum. Blah 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 blah. Okay, so plan A, plan B, and let's see here. Wait for me, please. Oh, going to get a beer. Yeah, no problem. Oh, oh, checking. Yeah, Fury. Let me know when you're back. I'm gonna clean this stuff up. No. I'm trying to think. I don't think so. I don't think so, Izzy. Please tell me this is where the funny story begins. And hopefully it starts with you doing something somewhat epic. Let's see here. I'm lost. Where was the test? WPF up down controls. Am I blind? I am blind. I am blind as a bat. And bottom starting at 162-ish. Great. Okay, so we have this. We don't really need. Okay, so there is. I believe I left myself with something like load user control. But I think we can get away with this instead, and then we don't have to do any of this stuff. I think we can go here and we can just do this, and then I don't need any of this stuff. There. Okay, so that handles that. That handles that. And I'm just going to put a question mark on that. The maximum set value. Okay. Drag this over here. Let's see, what is this? Was my, oh, this is just my Velpack repo. Great. Close this up. So, ooh, that is too big on the eyes. Whoop. Okay. So, modify the current audit version. Let's see. So, allow where hospitals directly connected to audit via the current net framework. Include blah blah blah. New record owner, ASP.NET session, blah blah blah. Migration to update the transmitted flag to intermissions. Current query should only display user registration. Integrate with this. Enable the static file server. Sure, I'm assuming this just serves up data. Ensure endpoints do not expose personal data in the URL. Absolutely critical. let's see. Team documentation. Reviews. 2+ developers. Plan B. Or require both Plan A and Plan B. Some of these seem somewhat straightforward. Some of these maybe, yeah, kind of confusion. Let me explain. Yeah, some of these, like authorization for employees, I assume this is implement auth in ASP.NET Core, which is not terrible, but it's also not trivial. Easy. I had a security report in the other day, and I didn't trust what it said. Apparently, we only have 5 low CVEs in our product. That's pretty good. So I spent a day downloading the database, writing something to check them, and apparently we have 3,070 review. Oh boy, Izzy. Oh, I am very, very sorry. No, typically I've relied on various security scanning software to be my automation. Like I'm not usually querying the database directly to pull it back, but like most of the time we're doing that because we've got some sort of compliance issue that we're looking to be in sync with, um, just by the nature of different work. So yeah, it's let's see. Main thing is migrate the system to web, but we have 2 plans. Use the API we have now, or do it from scratch. It's our architectural option. Got it. Got it. So yeah. Let's see. Okay, so that somewhat explains this guy here. Worth to maintain the API I have Net Framework 4.6. I'm tempted to tell you no, just from end of life. Uh, I'm trying to remember. There was a discussion I was having earlier today about what the life cycle of different Net Framework versions were. Yeah, so if you are on Net Framework 4.6, like assuming you're on 4.6.2, which most people who are on 4.6 are technically on 4.6.2 in most cases, you've got 2 more years to get up and going. So the other thing and this doesn't get mentioned enough when people are making decisions. Like if you look at these dates, right? Net Framework 4.6.2, start date is 2016, end of life is 2027, right? 4.7 and 4.8, they don't even have an end of life date yet, right? That's a very long lifetime. If you look at the lifetime of Net Core, right? The Net Core life cycle is significantly shorter, right? Um, is you're going to end up on something that is in a very few years. So if you are looking to move to Net Core, one thing that is worth being aware of is the short life cycle. Now, typically the Net Core stuff, when it comes time to rev it, you change your 6 to an 8 and you're good to go, right? You might pick up a few extra warnings or similar, but it's not usually like doing that upgrade is not nearly as big of a deal. Like they kind of go fast and they're usually fairly easy. Most of my projects, when the new version of .NET drops, like I just rev the framework moniker and I'm done, and that's it. Oh, 4.6.1. you should potentially consider getting off of 461. At minimum, 461 to 462 should be a simple upgrade with very few breaking changes. That way you're at least in a supported framework. Because 461, it died 3 years ago. Or at least you stopped getting like updates for it or similar. So that may be a worthwhile thing to consider. Core revs a lot quicker. Yeah, I tried to upgrade to Net 6. Yeah, and that will be difficult. The moment you make the jump from framework to core, there's a lot of things that change. A lot of things that change. You get like you can leverage a lot of your C sharp, but the underlying libraries all have been revved and have been updated, and all the cool new stuff is going into the net core area. So when it's a pain to get there, but if and when you get there, it's a lot nicer. So there's that. You gain a whole bunch of nicety things and a lot of performance gains and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of great reasons to go here. If you are looking to go here, the other thing to be aware of is what they call their STS versus LTS release. STS is their standard release. LTS is their long-term release. The only difference between them is how far out the end date is. Right? You'll note the odd numbered ones, 2 years. The even numbered ones, 3 years. Right? There are like that's the difference between them because some people are like, "Oh, we want to be on an LTS version." I don't like I kind of get it, right? People have SLAs and things that they care about, but if you're revving your stuff at least every 2 years, um then then you might as well grab latest, right? LTS is for people who can't for whatever reason can't afford to rev every 2 years, right? Here it's cultural to have legacy apps. uh I laugh, but I feel your pain. I feel your pains. Yeah. Yeah, I'm well aware that Izzy probably has some that might even potentially be older than that, which is terrifying. And like public sector ones, there is a lot of that kind of stuff that sticks around. Must work on Windows 95. See, Izzy, the problem is I don't know if you're joking or not. Like I actually fielded a customer request the other day that asked about Windows XP support, and I went, no, no. No, we do not support Windows XP. I'm sorry. That ship has sailed. So, yeah, so in looking at those options, the like so one at minimum 462 is something I would be pushing for just from and again, this only matters if people care about being in a supported version. And this is going to be an unpopular thing, but it's like, do you care about security patches? Right? Some people legitimately don't. They probably should, but they don't. And so if you don't actually care about those things, it's not as big of a deal. But it's like, oh, yeah, we kind of care about getting security patches and updates. Well, you may want to be up. You want to be in this range if you care about security patches. This is a happy place to be. But in terms of going between those two, if you've got an old school net framework, ASP.NET, I guess it depends on what people's appetite is for a rewrite, right? Because I assume the key thing here is this net core piece. And it's really not the difference between net framework and net core that's going to be the hard part. It's the difference between ASP.NET and ASP.NET Core. Those are a lot further apart. Because .NET and .NET Core, there's a lot of overlap there. Most of the APIs are the same. Like if most of the time, what we'll tell people is if you can rev yourself up to Net Framework 4.8, that means your C Sharp is compatible with Net Standard 2.0, and that gets you to Net 6. And Net 6 to Net 8 is a real easy jump. So it's like there's a path there, but it require and depending on what people's appetite is for rewrite and how big of a thing it is, that's oftentimes an easy way to get yourself there. But that's for like C Sharp, .NET, BCL core stuff, right? It's easy to get there. When we start talking about the frameworks like ASP.NET Core, like ASP.NET and ASP.NET Core are very different animals. They like there's a lot there. Like they didn't make ASP.NET Core different, like drastically different. They wanted it to feel familiar, but you are going to be changing stuff. Namespaces have changed. Attributes have subtly changed. If you're sticking with controllers, it'll still be kind of similar. If that's what your old school one on Net 6 is doing, it'll be fine. Like you'll get away with a lot of what you know, and it won't be terrible. But it also depends on how big it is. If this is like something that has been built over 10 years, that can be a significant amount of code that we're talking about moving. Yeah, some of us are lucky we get to use Linux. Others use anything from Windows XP to Windows 8. The R&D projects have started using Windows 10. Oh, that's good. They've gotten themselves up to something in the last decade. Perfect. Uh, just expect your DI container to be, yeah, a huge pain. Absolutely, 100%. And those are areas where things have very much shifted, right? In Net Framework, you're using Newtonsoft.json for all your stuff. In newer .NET stuff, you're going to be seeing systemtext.json, and there's subtle differences in the serialization there. So there's things like that where it's like it's just enough different that I don't. If somebody had, and maybe I'll put it this way to you, if the idea is should we, move our existing thing forward or just kind of split and focus on a rewrite, I would probably base it around how much code you're looking to do, right? If you were looking to upgrade and say, you know what, we want to use the existing service, let's get that up to Net Core. What I would tell you to do is rev it up to Net Framework 4.8, right? Or 4.8.1, doesn't really matter. Get that running because that's probably not a huge pain in the neck upgrade, right? You're going to have to change some framework stuff, but ASP.NET between these two is very similar. There's not a lot there that's worth changing. Get that working. That at least guarantees that your C# is now get yourself almost all the way there. Then rev yourself from Net Framework 4.8 over to Net Core. And I guess at that point, then you have to make the decision between are you going to go LTS or STS? If you want LTS, go Net 8. STS, go Net 9. And that's where you're probably going to end up doing a bit of a rewrite because your code will work, but you're almost worth walking through the .NET Upgrade Manager because it'll get you close. I know Ben put this in the chat earlier of this or the Upgrade Assistant. Where is that thing? Upgrade, blah, 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 upgrade source code. Yeah, this thing here. Yeah, like this guy here walks through it. The one crazy thing that happened using your tips at my company was that my tech lead was fired. I don't. Was that a good thing? I'm concerned. Yeah. I don't. I'm not sure if I should be. If that's a compliment or a warning or. Oy vey. That's terrifying. Um. Yeah, but like this entire upgrade install thing will kind of walk you through. Uh, I asked you what you would do if you had nothing to learn from your experience of the company, and it was my case. Yeah, that is okay. Well, I'm glad things kind of maybe iron themselves out for what it's worth. But yeah, like if you're looking to up, so case one, right? It's we want to keep all of our code. We want to upgrade to Net Core. Great. I would probably go get yourself from Net 6.1 to Net 8 or Net 8.1, doesn't really matter. Then I would walk through a lot of this upgrade stuff. I'm pointing at my screen. I realize you can't see where I'm pointing. I should use this, right? The key bit is around here of going through, and the upgrade assistant will take care of a lot of the CS proj changes for you and get you into a pretty good place. Just know that ASP.NET's a beast, and there's some things here. Um, in terms of going through and upgrading all of this stuff, right? But it should get you pretty close, right? Like Upgrade Assistant, at least in my experience, is a good 60 to 80% ish solution. And then depending on what you're doing, you just got to hash on it after that, especially for NuGet dependencies, because you'll find that you likely have NuGet dependencies that don't have updates. So it's like, what do we do with that functionality, right? Hopefully you don't have too many of those, but sometimes people are building on third-party libraries, and it's like, yeah, that third-party library never upgraded off of Net Framework. Suck, right? Uh, Dang, Izzy and Fury both stepping up, but it's going really well. That is awesome, and it worked. Well, Fury, I am glad to hear that. I was actually having a chat with my boss earlier today about kind of mentorship things and telling people I had a somewhat negative opinion on the advice I give to people, but apparently I should say that it actually works to get people fired. I'm not sure that's the way I want to phrase it, though. I should probably do something different. Um, Definitely not the way to phrase it, because it's not the right thing to do. But especially for people looking to advance, like I'm glad it is working out and that things are going better for you. Um, if, however, the app is small or the functionality isn't Kevin has remote control of people's jobs. Yeah, that is terrifying. If the app is small or the functionality can be done piecemeal, it may be worth considering a rewrite. Something that we often do is when people are looking to bring kind of old legacy apps, if the um, because oftentimes like old school apps can be broken up into kind of logical chunks of functionality. Sometimes what we will do is we will just leave the old app in place and take a chunk of the functionality and rebuild that in like latest.net, right? And we'll just kind of piecemeal it up, and then we'll just slowly cut things over, kind of like if there's kind of like different silos or different areas of the app that we can piecemeal one at a time. We'll often do that just to kind of keep everything working and then cut over. Everything working, then cut over to a new one, and then slowly build it up. And that's kind of probably more akin to your rewrite one. The advantage there is it lets you evaluate things in smaller chunks rather than trying to do the whole thing at once. Can sometimes be a lot easier. And it gives you an opportunity to kind of leverage whatever the new stuff is that's kind of coming. So in some ways it's easier, but it's potentially slower. And if you have a big code investment in an old repository that's been built out over years, that may not be a good way of doing it, right? Like that will be a costly way in terms of time to do it because you're functionally rewriting the whole app, right? And rewrites are things that you should do very seldom and after much thought and consideration, because it is rare that a complete rewrite is a good idea, right? Rewriting bits, parts, things, upgrades, right? Most of the time we try to bring code forward rather than throwing it away and rewriting it from scratch, because that is painful. Um, right now we're rewriting the whole app in the web. Okay, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, if there at least the front end is being rewritten, right? Like um, if there are areas where it may not, depending on how your desktop app was structured, sometimes I found that I can take the code, like in an MVVM pattern, I can often take my service layer and translate that into a backend API fairly easily. But again, it depends on how the code is set up. Yeah, sorry, I'm catching up. Very active chat. I'm now having to force to like read and stuff. Um, well, thank you, Ben. I appreciate it. The comment about I think that's something Kevin seems to have done well if that's the desire. Yeah, I will say like okay, insider baseball a little bit for a moment. Like I've had a lot of conversations over the years where people basically ask the question in the form of, hey, what do you want to be doing? What do you want your career to go? Where do you see yourself in 3 years? Blah, 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 right? Those types of questions, right? And I I got asked that at one point where the I'd given an answer that was like, you know what? I really like coding. I like having my hands on the keyboard. Typing is a good thing. I like making code happen. And then I realized that I have a lot of opportunities to make code happen, right? Like I do this streaming. I work on the material design project. I work on Velopack. Like I if I want to write code, I am not short on projects to write code for. Like I can do that. And so at least in my day job, I don't mind as much if I don't get to be the guy with the hands on the keyboard all the time. Like it's not like it's one of those things where I have an itch, like, and it's we'll call it an addiction, right? I must write code, I must build software. I have to do that. Like I must make that happen. But it somebody once told me it's like sometimes you need to understand what should be a hobby and what should be a job, right? And it's nice when those things overlap, but they may not always overlap. And sometimes they overlap for a while and then they don't. And so it goes back and forth. And it's like I don't some and in some cases it's like you do a hobby to turn it into a career or similar, right? And sometimes it goes the other direction, right? What you did as a career kind of becomes a hobby. This is in theory what happens when people retire. I've yet to see somebody do it well, but you know what? There's that. But there's it's an interesting question of what should be done. So something worth considering, especially as you work your way up. Let's see. Good news. My company decided to stop using a new timesheet system. We're back to Excel and only spending 15 minutes a day signing off my team's hours instead of 2 hours. Oh, Izzy. I know that's a joke and probably a true statement all at the same time, which is great. The company I'm at, we actually built our own software for doing various things, one of which is timesheet management. I think that's actually, hang on. Yeah, this thing. Uh, do we not have? Do we not have a better promotional thing for this? Because I don't really want to log into my real one. That sounds like a bad idea. Um, I was hoping we had like a promotional thing with like screenshots or video. Yeah, not logging into that. Or similar. But oh, full platform walkthrough. This sounds like what I want. Oh, that's funny. That's not the real one. Is it stormingthecastle.com? Hey, there we go. This looks better. This looks better. This, what is this? Is this the real thing? Boy, this looks like the right logos, and the right words, but it's also these are not screenshots. Like they're close to what the UI looks like, but they aren't quite right. Um, but yeah, look, short version is if if your company's interested, our company does have a product that they're looking to try to get out, and it's what we use for time tracking and whatnot. It's not horrible. I'll put it that way. Like you don't spend 2 hours doing your stuff. Thank goodness. But yeah, if you or your company is interested, just reach out to me and I'll set up like a demo thing or something. Because I know we've got a demo. Like you could go sign up for the beta too, and that'll get you into one. But I thought we had like a demo tenant or an actual video thing or something. Disappointing. Some of it is that it's a piece of software that we actively are working on like every day. There's a team of people that are adding features and fixing bugs and doing stuff to it. So it's one of those things. It's very much an active thing, but it's also product that they're looking to try to sell out too. Let's see. Let's see. Private tutoring, I would share with my pals. So, Fury, the answer is yes and no at the same time. So, on one hand, yes, I do have like the GitHub sponsor thing set up uh, as a way of if people want it. I will warn you, I have a very limited schedule, and so there's been a handful of people that have wanted to go down that route, but the scheduling thing ended up being a major pain. So is it something I will do for people and do it? Yes, but I also have a very limited number of hours, and oftentimes scheduling tends to be the big limitation. Uh, oh shoot, I'm sitting here. I'm clicking on here. Let me go back here. So I realize I'm talking about screens and all that stuff, and I'm not actually showing things. So I think this is the right site here. From thecastle.com. So if people don't know the Princess Bride, the company leans very heavily on Princess Bride jokes. And then this is the beta program. Right. Let's see here. Why does every mention of Link in the Microsoft Docs look like they're trying to sell it to me? Yeah. Yeah. So Link is good, but it's one of those tools that I think requires it's deceptively difficult at times, especially when you start mixing it for like entity framework for database queries or similar. Like it does a lot of stuff that's really nice, and the amount that you need to know to get started is kind of low, but the amount that you need to know to do it really well gets pretty high. So there's a little bit in there, and I think that's probably part of it. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, private tutoring on your knowledge and things like that, not your company product. Yeah, no, and if there are people who are interested, and I will point this out. Like this is something that I might actually need to check. Let me look. What? That's not the right site. Oh, does it not? Oh, it doesn't show me my sponsor thing. Well, if you go to my GitHub profile and you hit the sponsor one, because I'm going to get a different view looking at it from here, there is an opportunity there. Like I said, if it's something people are interested in, like I said, the scheduling tends to be a potentially big issue. So if somebody's looking to do it, um, I would I would say reach out via Discord um, first and confirm scheduling before people get carried away, because like I said, I've got a very limited hours right now, and that may end up being a do or die thing. Uh oh, good. Ben's trying to see what they have on a demo one. Yeah, Ben, if you've got a demo one, grab it and I'll show it. Because I thought we had a Storm in the Castle like demo tenant or something or similar. But yeah, again, Izzy. Yeah. Uh can it integrate with SAP? Does not currently integrate with SAP, but we do a lot of integrations for like here in the US, SAP gets used quite a bit for power companies, and so we've done SAP integrations, and we've built out the Storm in the Castle stuff. So could it possibly? That might be a discussion on what you're looking for. Um, yeah, because we've done SAP integrations and for different stuff, but it like I said, it might be a question of what needs to happen. But yeah, if company's interested, let me know and we can uh like I said, happy to set up a discussion or similar if people are interested in seeing more. Have you ever seen a Russian programming language? Google, oh boy. Okay, I'm going to do this, but I'm also going to do this because this feels like something that potentially gets me in trouble. Um, wait, Vay. So Copilot's being very helpful in replying in Russian. Um, so here is the wiki page. Dang. I will say the development world very much favors the English stuff, and it's like it's almost because I've worked with a lot of developers with different countries, and usually it's around like variable naming and comments and things where you start getting the weirdness. It's like I can always read the code, but like something like this, yeah, this is and for people watching, I have run the translate because that's the only way I can even hope to read any part of this. Kind of interesting. Very interesting. Okay, got got detour. Something UI test. Okay, so I whacked the window because the window was just doing this, and bound numeric up down control is a user control, and this guy here literally drops it into a blank material design window. So it does this and builds that up. So it's somewhat straightforward. Let's run this test, see what happens. In retrospect, I probably should have run this test before mucking with stuff, but that's just not me. I gotta muck with stuff. I gotta change things. I gotta like make code happen and things. Yeah, Russians are used to the fact that the code is always in English and the code is in Russian. For me, as a native speaker of the Russian language, it looks wild. Yeah, well, I will admit, like, for me, it's weird because, like, my brain, every programming language I've learned has always effectively been English symbols, right? Like, even if I don't know the words, I can line the symbols up. And sometimes you look at something like Rust or Pascal or um, what is the other one that I had to work with? And even though it looks weird to me because it's not letters anymore, it's just random symbols coming at me. It's like they always felt native's the wrong word. They felt familiar, even if it's like, yes, of course it's dollar sign colon hyphen, greater than sign. That's obviously what that set of symbols means. It's like I'm very aware that if I show that to a non-programmer, they look at it like it's a foreign language as well. So it's kind of a yeah. It definitely looks a little bit wild. Okay, let's see. What do we got? Failed to move focus to element numeric up down. Okay, so numeric up down is here. So I kind of want to just grab this. And then I want to go up and this guy here, attach debugger to remote process false. I would like to be able to disjoint those things. Okay, so by not having the debugger attached to the remote process, it means the window this thing is going to start, going to run in a separate process, and my debugger will only be attached to the unit test. Great. So what do we got here? So we've got this, and effectively what we're saying is we expect focus to move to that element, right? Interesting that it ends up throwing, saying that it can't move focus despite the fact that focus moved to it. I am willing to bet. Let's see, set property, activating window, getting element with query, button to focus. Yeah, okay, so this is an interesting one. Didn't we just write one the other day where we moved focus inside of it? I kind of want to do this. And then I kind of want to go because we did, could have sworn we did move keyboard focus on the numeric control, but maybe I'm making that up. Interesting. Because I don't want to look at my XAML test real quick and check and see. Oh, I've got some Dependabot stuff I got to deal with. Note to self. Let's open this up really quick. So for those people who didn't see it, it was my magical Control-Shift-E open repo and external editor. One of my favorite features that they added. So external tools, I just have it pointed at Visual Studio at the exe, and it will feed in the current working directory, which is the repo root. So then Visual Studio opens in Solution Explorer, that's here, and then I just have to click on the solution to get all the way in. Well, it's not perfect, but it's real bloody close. Let's see. Focus. I think focus is in element. Move keyboard focus. This one. Oh, it's an input. Yeah, sure, fine, save. Go away, I don't care. So it comes in here, pulls the element out, grabs the window, makes sure the window's activated. Keyboard focus the element. So it moves keyboard to the element. And then keyboard focus, I'm wondering if this not equals is actually the problem, because then if this hits, it moves out of here. And then element is UI element, element.focus. This feels like I want to expand this a little bit, because I'm willing to bet part of the issue of why this thing is failing on this call here is because if I remember correctly, we had a focus thing on the numeric up-down base. Numeric up-down. Sorry, it's up-down base. This guy here, I believe we set up. Oh, it was on focus lost. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. I thought because we were definitely handling some focus events inside of here. On got focus. Yeah, it does this kind of thing. Okay, so we're gonna come in here. Because this moves the focus in, and I'm kind of wondering if this is actually a failure of XAML test. In which case we might just go focus it or fix it. Go here, and then if we go up to here, test base. That should be true because I actually want to debug inside of the remote window. Oh, that's run test. That's not debug test. That's not going to do what I wanted. Oh, yeah, sure. Up, down. Yeah, great. Thanks. Go away. Die. Great. Because I want to. I'm willing to bet that's part of the issue. Is. Oop. Yep. So this guy got focus. So the numeric control got the focus event. And then it's going to move the focus down. That recurses into here. Great. That moves us there. E.handled is true. Bippity boppity booyah. Okay, so that is fundamentally the problem is XAML test is too stupid to handle something of this nature. Okay. The good news is, if only I knew somebody who could fix it. Oh, look, me. Okay. So keyboard focus request. I think what I want to do is I don't like this. This check is too simplistic. I think what I actually want to do, if element is a child of it, because this guy is I input element, which is not quite enough. So I think we go here, we go here, we go here. Var keyboard focus. Right, do that. If keyboard focus, I don't want to change the behavior completely. I want to extend it though. Because what I would like to know is if keyboard focus, if element is keyboard focus within. And I think it's this that I want is if the focus doesn't move in to the element, that's problematic. And I actually, so the success case is if element is keyboard focused. I think I actually want not on both of these. So if it's not keyboard focused and keyboard focus isn't within it, then we will do the error message. Yeah, I think that works. Let's go tests, run all tests real quick. Oh, this might be, hang on. I just realized test explorer. That might be, yeah, we don't want to do that. I would like to only run some of the tests, please. You can probably drop the out of support framework version. Screw it. We'll just release the XAML test version. Why not? It's 10:30. Ooh, Visual Studio release. Not the time to install it. Absolutely not the time to install it, but would be really fun to. So what you guys can't see is over on my other screen, I'm getting Windows flashing at me. Very exciting. It's kind of like what's occasionally showing up here, except for I'm getting it twice as much. It's really great. All right, I have a test that I think launches Notepad. Um, I yeah, this may actually not work locally at the moment. What I really care to run is visual element test. This is the only set of tests I care about. And yes, I apologize. If anybody has seizure inducing, please look away now. That will be, oh boy, wrong one. Okay, great. That goes like that. That goes like that. Ideally, I put together a test for this, but I don't actually care that much. I don't think it's going to be overly relevant. So here, XAML test. Let's, like Patch Tuesday, how will my PC break this week? Amen. Amen. Let's see here. What do we change? File content. That's white space. You know what? Let's change one thing here real quick. Here. This. Yeah. I need to update this thing here so it does it. Because this element is no longer relevant. So, which is a subtle change. This way, if this guy does return null, it's at least being mildly checked against. Great. There. Stage changes. Let's see. Big head on the left. And dial the zoom level down just enough so I can see what I'm actually doing. Okay. Updating focus to handle focus moving inside of the control that focus was requested of. All right, so that goes there. And then what are the dependabot failures? You know what? What we might just do is we might just rev NuGet packages here. Call it a day. And then let dependabot deal with its issues. Let's see. Give me all the things, please. Yes, update. It concerns me that it thinks that there's a vulnerable package, so we might need to check that too. Oh, I wonder if it's the out of support. Because we could probably drop. I just don't have any reason to drop Net 7 at the moment. So just check and see. Is it show only vulnerable? I don't care about pre-release. What is your problem? I don't like that this thing has a yellow. You have one deprecated package installed. Which one is deprecated? Oh, pinvoke user 32. Yeah, I know about that one. I don't care. I know about that. I do not care. Is it time to rev to net 10 yet? You joke, Izzy, but yes, it is. Have they even dropped a preview for it yet? I don't even know if they've dropped a preview for it. Maybe I should check that. Maybe I should check that Visual Studio release notes. Maybe there's something fancy in there. Net 8, Net 9, out of support versions. I don't care about those. Is there preview builds or anything on here? I don't see anything. Well, for anyone overly interested, you can always go to the GitHub page and pull down nightlies if you really want to live on the edge. Okay. That should have revved all of those. And that'll tell dependabot hush now. I do need to update this repo with some of the latest template stuff that I have. And actually, let's go fix this error. Suppress TFM build warnings. I understand what you're saying, and no, I don't care. All right, just trying to check to make sure I know exactly which project is squawking. XAML test. Actually, this one. If Windows 12 will include Net 12 instead of Net 4.18. I think they're gonna keep including Net Framework for a while. Like MS Build, if you build like your own MS Build target, or not target, what's the right word? Task. To do it right, you have to target Net Standard or multi-target between Net Framework and Net Core, because depending on how you build your C# inside of Visual Studio on Windows, you get a version of MS Build that is Net Framework still. If you do .NET Build on the command line, you get a Net Core version. It's really frustrating. Like there's enough legacy, like Visual Studio has been built over decades. Like there's a lot of code in here, and not all of it is updated. So, like, I know Microsoft would love to just invest in killing off all the legacy stuff. I just think it's a cost too high right now for them, and they're on their AI craze. I think they're chasing the idea of, ooh, we'll write AI to replace all our legacy code for us. Won't that be wonderful? Okay. Okay, good enough. Let's see here. So the packages and TFM warning, bumping packages. And then how do I do releases in this repository? I think this is the one where I just bump the version here. And then if I do a tag, I think it just goes. Yeah, so this guy here goes skip duplicate. So if I rev the version, it'll ship a new release. Great. Let's see here. Then bump version 1.2.3. There's some symmetry there. Yeah, no, Windows 10 was supposed to be the last version of Windows. Yeah, that wasn't their best moment. Oh, somebody was bad and tried to push straight into master, and that didn't work. Let's see. Fix, focus. Bum. Issue with focus inside of target control. Bumping version to 1.2.3. Let's see, revving NuGet packages. There we go. And send it. Enable auto merge. There. Bippity, boppity, booyah. And just like that, we have a full thing. All right. Checking to make sure I didn't miss anything. And let's see. Close, 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 close. Okay, so if we go back to here. All right, well, I'm waiting for that to run. I want to launch the demo app. Actually, stop executing, kill the breakpoint, launch the demo app. Because I think that little screen capture is just straight from the demo app. If I was guessing. Yeah. So the idea here is if I type in 2.5, right, and then what is the min max on this? Min max is 2.5. Go back. I want to make sure I get these setup things correct, right? So it types in 555, moves the focus, and then it drops. Okay, so if I do this, 555, I guess this thing isn't data bound though, so maybe I'm okay. Okay, that is potentially what I am missing. Is this guy isn't data bound, and the other one had a view model change. So if I do snoop, I wonder if I can see a difference with the value. Pop-up I got in the demo app. Oh! Yeah, so this thing here. So this is something, and I probably should change the theming because it's hard to see in dark mode. This little guy here, this nice little button, if you click that, it'll actually show you the XAML and a little thing around here. Once again, this will be Kevin showing off for a moment. This is a library I built called Show Me the XAML. Because sometimes you legitimately just want to see the XAML. So if you're in the demo app and you see this XAML display control, that's all this is it's an anchor point to put one of those little buttons in there so that it shows the XAML stuff, and you can copy and paste out of it and all that kind of fun stuff. It's kind of cool. It's a fun little thing. I want to make it more visible in dark theme, right? Because it's not obvious that it's in there, but it's kind of an interesting problem when you say, hey, show me the original XAML that was in this control, because the original XAML, once the app is compiled, is lost. Because in WPF, your XAML gets compiled down into something called BAML, which is binary markup language, which is faster to load and all that fun jazz. Great, fine. The problem is if you decompile it, it's kind of like looking at decompiled C#. You get something that's close to what the original was, but it's not quite the same, right? So show me the XAML actually cheats. What it does is it rips through all of your XAML files, loads them up as XML, finds the original XAML, and builds one massive dictionary um, to that's locked to the keys. Because if I go in here, right, and I go fuchsia, Izzy, don't joke. I will do that. So the XAML display control requires this unique key. And the reason it needs a unique key is because all of the content inside of it is going to go into a dictionary, and the dictionary is going to be keyed on a string, and that's the key of the dictionary in the string. And so when you click the button, all the button click for the pop-up is doing is looking at the dictionary and going, here's my key, give me back out the string. And the string is captured that dictionary is built at compile time. So at compile time, it just rips through and grabs it and pulls it all out. Fun story, the Uno project actually made a fork of this and ported it to Uno because they liked it so much they wanted it in their demo. I thought that was funny. I was like, hey, that's kind of cool, guys. To their credit, they did cite me when they released it, and they kind of tagged me in their post saying, hey, we did this thing. It's based on Kevin's work. It was like, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. It was very kind of you. Okay. Yeah, it is a fun little thing, and if you want to, and here I'll link the repo. If you want to go see how it works, like it's an interesting little tidbit of things to play with, right? Like there's the core library, there's the little MS Buildy stuff that builds up the XAML dictionary, right? So again, kind of key point here: if you're going to build yourself a custom MS Build task, you have to do some wacky stuff with your TFMs in order to make it play nice for everybody. So it's like, yeah. So then builds and chips, and away you go. We are off to the races. And I got it all the way up to version 2.0 and haven't really had to touch it since. It's one of those things that just keeps on trucking. Keeps on a trucking. I think this is one of the Uno guys. Yeah. Yeah, this guy contributed back, which was very nice. The CTO of the Uno platform. Yeah, so they found my stuff, and they thought it was interesting. And I thought that was kind of cool. Okay, so I think what I want is I want a view model behind this sucker that I can bind to. Right, so public class numeric view model. Let's stop debugging so it doesn't yell at me. Let's see. Observable object. So close, Copilot. You are so close. Let me help you. There you go. Better. And I would like you to be a double, I think. And then you want to be partial so that the source generator can do the needful. Great. And then we're going to go up here and we're going to say you to be block data context gets new. Thank you. Good. Yeah, thank you, Izzy. That is the I constantly get that thing messed up. Let's see here. Oh, this is decimal up down, isn't it? Decimal up down is going to want it shockingly to be a decimal. At least I think that's what decimal up down is. Yeah, of type decimal. Okay. I was gonna say, be kind of stupid if we made decimal up down and it was of type double or something like. a very misleading name. Okay. And so min max, and I want to take value, and I want to bind it to, was it value? Yeah. And then I want to do a text box, or text block, I guess. Text bind, had it there, missed it. Just so that I can see it. And let's stack panel you, do the needful, the needful, the needful. Yep. Wow, I appear to be getting laggy. Cool, Izzy. Have fun playing with your kid. Thanks for coming and hanging out as always. Always good to see you. Okay, now if we launch, I think this gets me close. At least close to recreating the issue that was there, but I just want to confirm that there is or isn't a problem because I realize it really looks like there's a bug. Right, so that works. Great, right? And then I go 555, and I go here. That is not a good thing. Okay, so that clearly is bad. And that's what the test was supposed to indicate, but the test has a bug because of XAML test and then blah, blah, blah. We'll deal with that in a minute. But what I would like to do here is partial on value changed. And then I would like you to be block body, please, just so that I have an anchor point for the F9 button. I want to walk this backwards. I'm surprised that that's what's happening. Like I realize both Nikolai and Corvin's both called me out on my mistake. Like I get it, but I also don't get it. Like something isn't jiving with my knowledge of how WPF works. Okay, so I go 555 tab on value changed 555. Okay. We're going to walk this sucker backwards real quick. There's a set on value changed, huzzah, right? Up, down, base. Set value property. Look at that. Why did that not go through? Why did that not go through the coerce? Like, I get what's happening, right? The value that came in was 555. I totally get that. My expectation, though, is that this code is executed before it assigns it back. What am I missing? Oh, does it execute? Oh, it executes. Oh. Oh, I've done this before and I'm an idiot. Oh, that's what okay. 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 So I think what I said last time is what I would somewhat prefer to do here is let's come down here. Um private void clamp value. And then I think this is a T, right? Yeah. So T value. And what I would love to do is this because I would like that to live here. Because I want to use the value in both places, but yeah. So we're gonna do that. Because really the only reason for calling coerce was to get this thing here. And so this is going to be up, down, base, clamp value, numeric value, right? Because this is the bit of code that we want to share in both places. And I was an idiot and didn't make that thing return a T. What it needs to do. And then down here, clamp value. That's clam, not clamp. And then value here, possible null reference assignment. Try parse should be non-null when this thing returns true. Is this thing not decorated properly? Ah. So this is a good moment here. Right? So if we go back, right? So the warning here in question, right, is possible null reference assignment. Because the compiler is realizing, oh, this value is T question mark. This could be null. However, this try parse is not going to return null, or I should say value will not be null when try parse returns true. Right? This is the common pattern that you see on things like int try parse, right? But if we look at int try parse, int try parse doesn't have it because ints are not nullable. What's a good try parse one that would do it for me? Think of which ones actually have it. Good try parse? No, because that's also going to be a value type. This isn't quite what I am looking for. Is we want this thing to allow a value. Short version. Why nullable T? No, that's a great question, Carax. So the part of the reason for that is because of how T is declared up here, where T is an arithmetic. Like we could go this route here, and then when we fall into here, we propagate that to here, right, and build that up. Maybe this. Then this guy becomes this. Let's see. Convert no literal to possible. Oh, because T is still potentially nullable. Yeah. Right. But the simpler solution here is we can actually control the compiler. So in this case, the reason for it is because we are using some of the newer, what is the right term for this? Static interface members. To be able to link in the arithmetic operations, which is why you see this if net 8 or greater. Because, for example, if I change myself to targeting the net 8 stuff, come on, update. It's misleading as T question mark. Yeah, it absolutely is misleading. And I think my compiler is losing its mind at the moment because it's not updating properly. Because when it goes through here, this guy, yeah. So this is the way that this is actually decorated for doing the arithmetic operations, saying that this try parse, the out value might be null when the value is false. This is how this thing is decorated. And I believe what we actually want to do is forward this in to our implementations as well, right? So we want it more akin to this. And I think this guy gets away with becoming this because it now allows that to flow through. I think we just got lazy with the question mark. Yeah, not know when true. No, absolutely. I think though I want to favor this only because that effectively follows the same try parse that we're leveraging in the net 8 stuff. And I believe what I want to do is this and this. And this is probably going to give me crap because it doesn't exist in all cases. Uh, I'm going to have to flip myself here down into that one to go and grab it. Because this is one of those cases where we might just shim the sucker in and call it a day. Do that, that. Because we had to shim in the I arithmetic interface for everything below net 8 in order to make this actually compile. And so if I do this, wait for the compiler to catch up to me. Apparently this is going to be a hard operation. And actually, now that you say that, I am wondering if maybe null when was added later than not null when. Might check that. We should check that. Whenever the compiler wants to catch up to me. Any day now, Rosalind. We're all just waiting on you. Because we shouldn't need to declare it. Because, for example, here, this one's not a problem because it's obviously an int. Do you set up to use C# 12 features on net 6 instead of using regions? Yeah, so it depends a little bit on what feature in question it is, but in a lot of cases, will I will shim in features to make them work. And it depends on the feature because some features are compiler level and some features are runtime level. So things like the attributes and similar, those are compiler features that are being leveraged. So the compiler is just looking for an attribute with the right namespace and name. But that attribute exists in the newer .NET libraries, but don't exist in, say, things like net 6. But if you declare that same attribute with the right namespace and name, you can actually get the newer compiler features to work targeting net 6 as long as you're compiling with the newer .NET SDK and targeting net 6, if that makes sense. Because there's the version of .NET that you compile with, in my opinion, you should generally favor using latest because then you get all the latest compiler fanciness. And then target older frameworks if you need to. That's totally fine. But then you can actually leverage them. Are you still trying to figure yourself out? Okay. Yeah, and so you've absolutely lost your mind. Okay, and this is so it's both of these. Yeah, I'm trying to change this so you actually switch and show me. Do you actually contain not null when true? But you don't exist either, do you? Not in 4.6.2 you don't, but you probably exist in net 6. Do we just go ahead and port that sucker right on down? Do we just port that sucker right on down into it? Because the other thing is anyone could theoretically derive from this same interface and pass in their own type. And so I don't want to assume that just because my types are decimal and int, that somebody won't implement it their own way. So I kind of want to get the interface to work nicely. I'm just worried that if I put this member in, if I put this one in, because you can see here, exists on net 6, right? But not on 4.6.2. So I'd have to shim it in for 4.6.2. Can I get away with doing this? If not, let's. I wanna see if I can get away with doing this as a non-public class. Yeah, I understand you're unhappy. Yeah, and you want to be in your own happy place. Will you automatically? No, I want you to move to a new file. What I want you to do. Let's see where we at in here. I don't happen to have a good place already to shim these. I don't think. Still uses old net framework. Sadly, Karax, a couple of the people who were in the chat earlier tonight. Uh, it is the GIF that will not die. So, and it's one of those things where, at least for the material design library, my opinion is I will try to maintain support for a framework as long as Microsoft does. Once Microsoft drops support, I'm not going to try to support anything that drops out of that. Like I may continue to support a framework after it drops out for a short period of time, but the moment it causes me any heartache, it's going on the chopping block. Okay. Let's just, because we've got this guy here, right? And this is kind of the same way as we've shimmed in the compiler diagnostics. Now, will you let me get away with making this internal? So this is trying to leverage this guy. And we just got to do this to make it happy. Okay. Now, that'll get me to there. Obviously, that's not where I want it to live long term. But now, not null when true, that should get me far enough along to deal with all of the implementations of this guy. There's only 3 references. Given how much crap this thing's giving me and how slow it's being on loading, I think we can conclude it's going dog slow. Okay. But all of that to say, now this guy should no longer be having problems when I go to clamp it. Yeah. I think we can do, no, because the declaration is still nullable, but it is no longer null. Open source on Git. Yeah. Here, I'll drop you a link. That repo there. Okay, so that gets us there, and now I think if we launch the demo app, this should address the issue at hand. Mountain Dew is now empty. Okay, because we may end up if we're going to move forward with this, the fact that it's letting me get away with this as an internal class makes me feel better, because that will keep me from accidentally colliding with other people, because I know plenty of projects that also shim this type of stuff in as well, and I just don't want my shim to conflict with theirs, because that is frustrating when it happens. Okay, so kill the breakpoint. Launch the app. Okay, so key thing here, right? We go up to, kill that. So we're gonna move our way up to 2.5, 555, tab. Okay, and it is appropriately clamped now. Okay, that makes me feel better. Let's get this guy moved to, to its own area. I think I have my own. Yeah, we've got our own shims in here for index of. Let's move it into here. Let's see. Add new class. Not know when. Come back over here. I would like most of this file, except for not any of this stuff here. And yeah, here I want to kill this off. And now it's all happy. Now it's all happy. I guess we can go to, no, don't do that. No, stop it, Copilot. Stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. I know ID's unhappy, but we can get away with this now. This way, if we decide to bring in any of the other ones, we're already kind of set up to do so. I doubt we'll need to. Like, I think it'll be probably fine for now. Okay, so let's check if our other release made it through. Of course, one of my things failed. Which test is failing? Come on. Show it to me. One failed test. Test failed. Which test was it? Am I the only one? Oh, this is the... Expected any value except show minimized. Actual show minimized. Okay. It gives me a bit of pause. List box item shows, oh boy. Oy vey. Oy vey. This guy may end up proving to be slightly more problematic. Okay, so let's go back here for the moment. Because I think the UI test written as it stands, I think was pretty good. It's just the XAML test bit that's problematic. So what I think we're going to do is I'd like to keep it sans this Windows class because we aren't using it. Let's see. So input a number greater than the maximum. So we go here. There's that. Right, so that goes there. I'm just checking all of these here. So this pulls out the view model from the user control. That builds that. Okay, so skip. Let's see. Needs XAML test 1, 2, 3 or later. That way we can actually merge this sucker. Because we can see in the demo app it working just fine. But those changes we aren't going to stage. So we would like not know when staged. Up, down, base. Would like to keep. Yep. Let's see. These two lines I don't see a reason to keep. Discard. Keep the rest of it. Let's see. That's good change. That's a good change. These two we don't need. That we don't need. And then this is a good test after our small updates. Fixing clamping on Numeric up down control. Updated UI test. Need new XAML test or it will run. That'll work there. We could probably hack around it a little bit, but why? Okay, do I have push permission back to this? I think Corvin's usually opens it. Don't. So I have to push this somewhere else. So what you do in this situation, so the issue here is the branch we were on is on a fork that belongs to one of the maintainers, not me. I obviously do not have permission to push back to it. And the funny thing is you can get permission when somebody opens a pull request. There's a little checkbox at the bottom of GitHub that says allow maintainers to push back to your fork. It's really convenient to leave that check to the maintainers, right? Because they don't have to do wacky stuff. In this case, all I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my upstream to mine, push this branch to my fork. Now, I'm going to leave this commit in question because I think people should get credit for the work that they do. So it's not like I'm going to rewrite it, but it'll end up being then, let's see, we can rebase this branch now that I own it. Boom. Oh, but do I want to rebase? I may not want to rebase. How does that handle ownership? Look, as long as it leaves the owner. See, it put me as a co-author. I don't really, no, undo. I don't want to be a co-author on this. Undo. Take me back. Take me back. Do successful. Undo successful. Okay. Get cracking. We have very different definitions of what undo successful looks like. You're gonna make me do something wacky, aren't you? Fine. Go back. Great branch. Temp. Apparently I already have a temp branch because I do this way too much. Let's see. Delete temp. Clearly the old temp was really valuable. Make a new temp branch here just so that we don't lose it. Grab this guy here. So go back to the branch we wanted to be on. And then I want to go here, here. And then I want to cherry pick this commit. Yes. Now my branch should contain, and you'll note no co-authors because I don't, like it'll probably still end up being a co-author when it squashes in. But then we'll go here. Then we'll open the PR. Let's see, fix issue with clamping on numeric up down roll. Will it? Oh, it's not gonna. Is based on. Well, we'll go link Corvin on the thing here once we have it. Oh, it's gonna take a while because it's. Why is it thinking so hard? Oh, because I haven't pushed it, so it doesn't know where to go. Yeah? Kraken, you are not showing yourself off well tonight. Come on. Figure yourself out. I think I have completely confused it. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Kraken, we will just jump. We'll just go parent pull request. Let's do ends for the base branch. We'll just go there. Okay, so create pull request. And as the maintainer, I can set my milestone in there. We'll enable auto merge and squash, and that'll get that going there. Okay, so I go back over here. Go, what the heck? right? So this guy here apparently failed. Let's look at this test. Start with the obvious. Does it pass on my machine? Green on mine. So which part failed? Listbox 2, 219. 219. So assert selection, selected items. Let's see, it wants this to be static. Make you static. That's fine. Static local functions in C# just effectively mean that you can no longer capture variables from the outside. This thing I assume wants collection expression. Great. Do that. So 219 is what failed, but I guess I'm curious where I came in from. 196. So it's here. So it expected list box item 2, 3, 4, and 7. So it held down Control and Shift, did a selection. I'm wondering if this thing just went too fast. It feels like there's a timing issue here. We should be able to also grab, so on these builds when they fail, it should upload screenshots, assuming I did it correctly. Oh, take me back to the summary. Whoa, whoa. Yeah, it locked my control key because I interrupted it. Yeah, I get it. Test images, and then this guy here should have screenshots, app tests. Let's see, can generate, oh, interesting. So does that one not have a, oh, it does not have a recorder on it. So that's another problem that we should fix. None of these apparently have recorders on them. That's not a good thing. So specifically for XAML test, what that means is, where's the sample? Oh man, I'm just finding bugs left and right. Let's see, fix the typo. Apparently I copied and pasted my typo multiple times. Why do I not see? Why do I not see test recorder getting used in my own tests? Uh, my Oh, it's an async using. That's okay. That's what I'm like, am I an idiot? Like, what am I doing wrong here? And then down here we go recorder.success. And all recorder.success says is made it to the end of the test. You don't need to capture any screenshots. But if we do this, this will now ensure any failures actually record screenshots with them, which is kind of important. I'm gonna clean all of these suckers up. That way, if there are any problems, especially with this again, I can capture them. The fact that it passes locally strongly hints to me that the issue here is timing and or keyboard state. It would not shock me to find that because this is using pinvoke to trigger keyboard events, it simulates key down, key up. And it's very possible to have one test that just does a key down. And once it has a key down, it then automatically will leave it in that state. And there's no way to effectively fix it, which is kind of annoying. And now that I say that out loud, I'm kind of wondering if I should just have on every new app start it reset keyboard input, but that might be wrong too. I don't know. I don't know. Go back here and go with this and go billing fix. Why not in test setup and cleanup? Oh, good question. Great question. So this test recorder here is responsible for capturing screenshots, but it's actually cheating. So in its constructor, part of how it captures screenshots is it uses the caller member name, which is expected to be the unit test method. So if you put it in your test setup and cleanup, it can't access this the same way. Depending on your test framework, you can go after like your test context to figure out which test is being executed. But the cheater way of doing it is if I just put it in my unit test method at the beginning and then a success at the end. Yeah, test context in here can grab it inside of the MS test stuff. Though I often have people copy these tests into, say, XUnit or similar, where then it's a slightly different way of going through and grabbing it. I've played around with the idea because you can extend the various frameworks to effectively rather than needing to set this up in every single test, give yourself effectively, XAML test, right? Or something of that nature. That way you can inject it yourself and you don't need to do it. I just haven't gotten around to it. I think that's kind of long term what I would want is eliminate the need for these guys here and just rely on extending the test framework so that if you use the right attribute, it automatically handles the test recorder bits for you. It's kind of my thinking of where I would rather it go long term. Because then there's a lot less thinking overall, and it just works out of the box. Oh, that's why I was separating those as I was fixing the spelling test there, and then order, and then I kind of wanted to push those up, let the PR start running again, but I kind of wanted to look at what the other one showed as a failure. Come on, show them to me. This is the one that kind of. So the yes, though the thing here is it's capturing screenshots, and so inside of your test, the other thing, and it's not obvious because it's not in here, but if you wanted to just grab a screenshot midway through, this gives you a way of, especially for UI tests, being able to say, I want to, grab a screenshot to verify, keyboard focus is here. Because with a lot of these on a pipeline, it can be difficult to understand what's going on unless you can get kind of a visual picture of what your UI is doing. And so oftentimes, if you put it in your test setup and cleanup, you need to expose the instance in a place where it goes. The only reason for the using is it just provides it a way of saying, hey, if this test exited for any reason, probably an assert failing, right? Without getting to this success, it automatically captures one screenshot automatically to say, hey, we never hit the success point, because all the success does is literally just set a Boolean to true. That's it. The underlying dispose ends up calling save screenshot, which then captures a screenshot based on those file names and indexes to be able to go through and do it. Yeah, you can always have a property in a test or a base class. Yeah, absolutely. It just means that then you're managing those instances, and at least for this, I was trying to not be too prescriptive on the usage. This, like on one hand, this is a purpose-built testing framework that is its only purpose in life for when I built it was to be the testing framework for the material design setup. And so on one hand, it has a singular use case, but I'm also somewhat aware that people have hijacked it for other things. Let's see. Dispose making screenshot isn't clean because it can be triggered by GC. Yes and no. In this case, so this thing doesn't necessarily implement the dispose pattern that you are thinking of. So there is no destructor here. So the GC won't actually trigger it, and it's an asynchronous or an async disposable. So the only way it ever gets disposed is an await using. We'll just drop that down while I'm in here. While I'm in here and looking at it. Okay. The other ones that failed in here. Oh yeah, this method. That's what I was gonna grab. That is what I was gonna grab here. This one concerns me because this one is on start with minimize other windows, minimizes windows. You're making me question myself. I so a moment ago I would have said no, but now you are making me wonder. Uh, yeah, and so this is yeah, this caution here, if you implement async disposable but not disposable, which is exactly what I've done, your app can potentially leak resources. And I think the reason for that is the fact that the GC won't automatically call async disposable because it assumes that most people don't do what I've done, which is implement it arguably incorrectly. Dispose method. Field, implement both, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Public parameterless dispose method is called implicitly in an await using statement. Its purpose is to free unmanaged resources from general cleanup and to indicate that the finalizer, if one is present, need not run. Freeing memory is because of this. It has a standard implementation. Wasn't sure. Blah, blah, blah. In other words, yeah, that says that delegates the dispose async core method. That's all about implementing the pattern. That doesn't actually talk about. You know what? We're going to test this now. One way to find out for sure. Let's just do it. Test method. Look void. Foo. Okay. Static void make stuff. New test recorder app. All right, so let that thing go in there. That guy gets built. That guy gets thrown away. Make stuff. Collect. We're going to go here. Ask. Async. I can't type. Async task. Please be helpful. Wait. Ask. Delay. Make real certain. And then we're going to go in here. And what I expect, what I think I know, is that this doesn't get hit. What I think I know. Find out. Delay, yeah. Well, the delay in here is just to make sure, because the garbage collector runs on its own thread. This is just to make sure it has ample time. It should be more or less instant, but I want to make sure I've got ample time for it. Yeah, this isn't one that we're gonna keep. In this case, this foo test is it's named foo, so I don't accidentally check it in. Never hit my breakpoint. Okay. So if I do await using var ding, right? This, let's see. I guess I need to do this. Oh, I guess you have to type your syntax right if you want it to work. This one here. Now, obviously, this is a different setup, and the delay is not really necessary here. We're going to do one more test after this. Is I want to set a destructor on it, and sorry, Deanne. This is how you know that you're a proper developer if this kind of code is making you twitch. This one should hit my breakpoint, yeah. Which, not shocking. It's in an await using, so it comes straight out of here. I love you. Okay, so one other thing. So now I want to go back. So that works the way I expect. That works the way I expect. The last thing that I want to do here is be real explicit and say if I do, yeah, we're not doing all that. No. I just want to confirm that I see that hit, but not for decades experience. Because in this case, I expect the destructor to hit, but not my dispose async. And then I feel like I can say with some level of confidence that it will not do the thing. Aha! So we do hit this breakpoint. They'll have the one in dispose async, which would have gotten called if this guy had been invoked. It's okay. I just need to drink another beer. I will be okay. It's okay. We're gonna delete the code here in just a second. It's yes. Take a quick drink. I'll down my Mountain Dew. We'll survive. So yeah, CarX, to answer the question, yes, I am now very confident that dispose async will not automatically be called by the garbage collector. I think in a lot of cases it does get called by the garbage collector when people actually implement the dispose pattern as it's intended to be done, right? But in this case, this is one of those cases where I kind of did it wrong somewhat intentionally, which is yeah. No, thank you for challenging it though. Like that's sometimes that's a good thing. I need to make sure that I actually know what I think I know. Like I was working with some colleagues the other day, and they showed me some code, and I told them, I'm like, yeah, that doesn't work, and I explained why it didn't work, and then they ran the application and showed it to me working, and I went, dang nabbit. I'm like, I hate this because it's really hard for me to argue against you when when you have the code right in front of me and it's working, and I just finished telling you it doesn't work. So it was a nice little humbling moment. Let's see here. So this is gonna go through, but I hate time stuff. Yes, yes, yeah. Uh, in general, I hate timing stuff too. The only time I found in my career where timing stuff was completely unavoidable was when I was doing some interaction with hardware, and there was legit, like, you sent a command and you legitimately had no other way to do it, but delay check, delay check, delay check. Oh, now we're done. Right? It's like there was no other signal coming from, in this case, a stepper motor, and it was like, I guess, like, that's that. I've only got a few signals to play with. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Looping time stuff or similar, but things that rely on it, like that. That's also one of the things that I usually caution a lot on people with uh, timing related things, especially on tests or anything with task parallel, because oftentimes what I see is people will put in the delays or similar. It it works until they add some more completely unrelated tests, and then that starts to overwhelm the background worker queue, and then things start taking longer. It's like there's no delay you can pick that you actually know will be long enough, because you never know how fast the background worker is going to be able to go through and do. Okay, I think this one might just be an artifact of me picking Notepad. Yeah. So this is stupid. I think this test broke because Microsoft. Uh, yeah, this test is stupid. Over 60 got over 40 years in dev. Dang. Props though, and props for teaching the youngins to do things right. I'm at a weird place where half the conversations I had at work today were people calling me the old guy, and the other half were people calling me Sonny, and it was there was no winning. I'm somewhere between the old guy in the room and the young guy in the room. A very weird place to be, because as you can tell, I'm not 60. I'm a little under that, but I'm also not 20. I'm a little older than that. Okay, so this thing here was all around just starting a process and making sure that the code for minimizing windows actually works properly, because it's really just here to launch something else, and I'm kind of wondering if maybe we just pick on something different in terms of process. Because what is this doing? Get process start, wait for, what is this? You make me feel young again. Thanks. uh uh Nice. I'm now confused what the heck this test was even supposed to be doing. On start with minimize other windows, minimizes windows. Yes, it's supposed to minimize the other windows. Like that, I get, right? The whole test here is around making sure this property appropriately does what it's supposed to do when you call start remote app. That's that's its purpose in life. And we process launch notepad. We wait for the notepad process to launch. And we're basically just looking to grab the notepad handle. What is going on here? Do we not? Okay, I'm curious where this thing is, where this thing's getting hung up. Okay, so notepad process refresh is there. Great. Has exited, should hopefully be false. Great. Main window handle. Oh. Oh, dang it. Main window handle is not useful. So okay, I don't think this is the right answer here because I have a strange suspicion because I haven't looked at this test since I don't know, probably a year, maybe more. And I think what happened is the notepad rewrite occurred. Okay, no. Jump me out, right? So what was the point of doing all of this return stuff? Oh, because it's leveraging a bool. And then this asserts that it's not going to be here. So I guess the question is, if I switch this to handle, right, back this sucker up, set next statement, right, does this, can I actually p invoke and get the window placement from the process handle? Let's see, I make a 6-digit in robotics domain name. That was not given to me. I earned it. Yeah. That actually sound. What type of robotics, Deanne, if you don't mind me asking? Yeah, that's what I thought. That's the wrong handle. So we can't grab the window handle anymore. That's disappointing. Okay, let's go here. I don't know that there's going to be a good way around this. Robotics in the dairy industry. Oh, that's interesting. That is very interesting. My wife grew up in Ohio around a lot of uh, dairy farms and similar, and it's been an area she's wanted to go back to. We're now West Coast United States, so not a ton of them around here where I'm currently at, but we do North America. Okay, cool. That is a very interesting thing. I assume a lot of stuff related to either like herding cattle, milking related stuff. There's been a lot of really cool demos of like especially with like the rise of IoT stuff, all the cool things that people can do. I remember Microsoft showed one, I remember who it was, where they had put I think it was bracelets on cows effectively to keep track of when a uh, when a cow was about to give birth. Um, and it was pretty interesting to be able to go through and do. Uh oh, Creator Inky. Oh yes, I apologize. So I have unfortunately neglected my YouTube channel a little bit. Yes, sign tool stuff for Velopack should be in and working. So I assume um that stream was around leveraging the sign tool for Azure Trusted Signing. And so the on the docs, this guy here now should now be working. And there is a new release of Velopack that dropped earlier today, I believe. If I go and look, yeah, 9 hours ago. So there's a new VPK, new Velo pack as of 9 hours ago. So 1120 is the magical version number you're looking for. But yes, that should be in and done. It ended up being not the version of sign tool exe, but the fact that it gave really bad error messages for invalid arguments. What did it? I'm trying to remember what it was. It was something along the lines of the way we were passing the tenant ID was incorrect, or something of that nature, and it was. We ended up kind of hacking our way through uh, the DLLs that sign tool loads for trusted signing in order to track that down and get it working. But these directions should be up to date. There is a functional integration test that actually runs on our pipeline that verifies all of this works. So it'd be good to go. But if you run into problems, absolutely either log an issue or reach out on the Discord channel. Yes, and I apologize. I think I've got like 3 or 4 videos queued up on YouTube that my automation has queued up for me that I just have not gotten around to putting the last little bit on and hitting the publish button. Let's see. We can do table of elements for feeding. We do parentage, etc. That's really slick. That's cool, Deanna. I've got a colleague, and that's kind of one of his areas that he absolutely loves is the bit about kind of like the IoT robotic stuff, because it's kind of that nice part where like a lot of software you build is kind of theoretical because it's all digital and it's not real, and then you pair it with something like robotics and it instantly becomes a real thing. It's a different level of coding when you're building something with like you're writing code and it's like this actually makes stuff in the real world do things, not just flicking lights on the monitor. Okay. Does this guy even launch and give me back a handle? I think that's kind of what I'm looking for here is grabbing of seeing if we can actually get back a main window handle on any of these things. Because at the end of the day, the whole idea here is we're trying to reach across and verify that the code is appropriately minimizing other windows. Cool, Deanne. Thanks for coming and hanging out. Let's see. Does this guy have a... Okay. What can I go after that's a standard Windows XE? I'm almost tempted to because we launch with our own executable, maybe I should launch that. Oh, Deanne, thank you very much. I appreciate the sub. What do you think about Blazor plus Tari? Haha. Cool, thank you. So I like Blazor, and the I should be a little careful here because I don't do a ton of web stuff, but I absolutely love the things like Blazor that let a a muggle like me kind of work my way and use the skills that I have to feel like a web developer. Um, Honestly, Avalonia I think is probably my pick for WebAssembly front ends, right? Which is right. Like I realize it's a little off topic of what you were asking for, but there's a handful of things, Blazor being one, Avalonia, Uno being others that can all output to WebAssembly to effectively be able to run in the browser. Um, so it is there, and there's been a number of projects that like the company I work for has done that have used Blazor. We've also used Blazor Hybrid as a way of. There was at least one mobile project that we did that leveraged that, uh, just because the team in question had a lot more web skills than like say XAML skills, and so Blazor Hybrid made for a fairly useful bit, and it meant that they didn't have to think about a lot of Maui stuff. They focused almost entirely on the Blazor bits, and it worked out great. And it gave them components that they could share in the web and yada yada. And was it was perfectly fine. So I think it is good. I think the WebAssembly stuff is one of those. It feels like the next evolution of web development, but the thing with like JavaScript and all that stuff is it has a very strong foothold. Um, yeah, Maui and Blazor are better than Avalonia, and I could certainly see that eh, for certain devs or certain groups. I think the actual framework or tech stack is better determined by who's working on it rather than the tech stack because there's pros and cons of each, but like the team of ours that did the mobile app with um, uh, Blazor Hybrid, they were primarily web devs, and so it took a web dev and made them feel like they were being very productive building a mobile application, which is great, right? That's what you want is people feeling like things seem like they expect and work like they expect. For me, who likes his WPF, his XAML, I go the other direction. It's like it takes me from what is my happy desktopy app feeling and makes me feel like a web dev because oh look, now I can just compile and run into it. So I think WebAssembly is probably move like I think it's just going to continue to get better and better, and the fact that it will then allow people to come into web with more familiar looking frameworks. Because the running joke with like JavaScript frameworks is there's a brand new one every 3 months, and there are a dime a dozen. There's tons of them out there. You know, you've got your big ones, your Angulars, your Reacts. I don't want to say knockout. That would be a bad one to get me thrown at me. Your Views and those types of ones that web developers work in, and they love them a lot, and they're great. Um, but I think as WebAssembly gains more and more traction, and it will probably take a while for it to gain traction, but in like 5 years, I would not be shocked to find that WebAssembly is more popular than uh, doing things natively, which I mean, natively gets to be weird, right? For a long time, there was the debate about to jQuery or not to jQuery. Like, do you actually need the big heavyweight jQuery, or do you just write your JavaScript and just do it right the first time? It's like, well, no, like all that weight comes with benefits, and then more and more things get built on it, and it moves forward. So yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with Blazor. I think there are times at present where some people may have legitimate performance concerns about Blazor, depending on how it gets used. But I think that's more of an artifact of its age, not of the technology being bad or similar. Because there was also a debate for a while because Microsoft put out Blazor and there was server Blazor, front end Blazor, and the messaging just was was bad. It got very confusing to people about what Blazor was because there was like three Blazors. It's like stop it, don't do this to me. I think they finally got that hammered out though, and something that is a little more sane. Um, I've even done a couple streams on Blazor because there's a very simple app, uh, Pointer Star. So we do Scrum on a lot of our teams, and so we often do pointing poker. And we got annoyed by the fact that most of the pointing poker websites out there were either too slow or filled with ads. And I got annoyed one weekend and said, "Screw it! I can build a pointing poker site really easily." And so, right, I built a very simple pointing poker site where everybody just comes in and you can vote and all it's a it doesn't have a lot of features. It's very simplistic, but then you can just grab your room link and share it with everybody and you're off to the races, and it's all Blazor. So specifically it's leveraging mud Blazor for the UI stuff. That's not MudBlazer. That is SyncFusion. This is MudBlazer. Right? Because and some of it was as a way for me to go through and learn more Blazor stuff because I wanted to feel like I was making progress with it, and MudBlazer looked cool, and I was like, sweet, this looks pretty. Let's plug it in and see how it works. And it made a yeah, for Blazor web app. Yeah, exactly. And so it made a person like me feel like I was being very productive and built something, and like we still use it uh, even in our sprint plannings and whatnot for making sure that we have things appropriately sized and whatnot. So very simple. If anybody wants to use it, knock yourself out. If you find bugs, it's open source. There's let's see here. If we go here, right? So if anybody cares to see the repo, there she is. I've contemplated going through and using it to test building out, like, because it's a nice app for demo purposes because it's small enough that it's real easy for people to understand what it is. And I've been contemplating rebuilding it in different frameworks and stuff just as a way of learning them, because it's just complicated enough to be real, but simple enough that it's not like some massive application. So yeah, it's kind of a cool little thing. It's fun. It's got a little pipeline and whatnot behind it. Okay. So this guy here is going to prove to be problematic because there is, at least at present on my machine, no way to grab a window handle. We could look at starting our own app. Yeah, no problem. Always happy to answer questions. Some people, oh, apparently I have not uh, trusted this repository since I habitually format my machines about once a year, just as it feels like spring cleaning. And so I just wipe them clean, reinstall all the things. It's a real good way to make sure that your backup systems are working. When you wipe your system, if you didn't back it up, it's gone. So it forces me to actually test that kind of thing. I'm a little surprised. I'm wondering if I should just start my own process of my own XE where I know I can get my hands on it. That might be the easier path of travel here. Um, it feels a little weird, but it's probably. Oh, that's. This is why we like analyzers, because they are conveniently located. I am wondering. There was actually a request a while back for XAML test to work for .NET Framework. And this right here is actually the reason why that's hard, is I'm using protocol buffers over named pipes. And at least last time I looked, protocol buffers over named pipes are not supported on Net Framework. So could the communication be changed up to support something or do something else? Absolutely. But that was not something I cared to actually implement. Yeah, because functionally this is the code we're trying to test. Is can we grab the windows of other processes, minimize them? And I think what this is showing me is the answer is not accurately, because if things like Notepad don't actually come with a window handle, I'm actually surprised at that a little bit. UI3 Window handle. Surprised that this doesn't. Yeah, I'm surprised that this actually fails, and I'm wondering if I need to not go at it via the managed API. How to get the handle of window? Yeah, this thing. Oh, see, this is different. This is not quite what I am looking for. This is internal to the app, and I don't want to be internal to the app. I want to just grab its handle from the outside, and I think this is. Yeah, so my code is only going to work against Win32 apps. Hmm. Yeah, so this is an interesting problem. This is an interesting problem. So the code is probably fine, but it's not going to work. And the fact that Notepad converted from an old school Win32 app to something that resembles a modern app is what is functionally biting me. Huh. Huh, 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 huh. Okay. That might require more investigation in how to properly handle that. I don't know if I have a good solution for. Let me see. Did that PR actually merge? Let's see. I'm in a moment with Electron Net trying to close server, trying to close app, socket, send server before quit, environment, exit. Trying to close server, trying to close a socket, send a server before quit, environment, exit. I might need a little more context on that. I'm not sure I'm grokking that message fully. So, close down a server, close down app, socket, send a server before quit. Like I have a similar problem on a lot of these ones with. Yeah, I'm wondering how long this test has been hosing me. Probably been hosing me for a while. So let's undo some of these changes. I think we're going to. I remember it's ignore, isn't it? This test is flaky, needs to be rewritten. This test only handles Win32 apps, not anything with or window. This is more accurate, and then we can kill that off. I'd like to get this. What do we got here? That's fine. That's a using cleanup. That's killing that off. This is the one we don't want to include. Okay. Skipping test that doesn't work with core window. That'll be an interesting one that I might have to go on to. Okay. That'll get that running. And at the end of the day, all of these Dependabot ones should eventually die off. Because this thing has all the NuGet revs in it. This thing is clearly gotten a little too big, though. We'll see how this thing goes. We'll see how this thing goes. Let's see. .NET install runtime 8. Is it trying to install net 8 twice? Is that what I set up? Net 6. Oh, is it because net 6 is being forwarded to net 8? Nope. Oh, because it's grabbing LTS. Because what it's. This is execution, skip non-version, channel LTS, pulls 8, already installed, pulls through and forwards up. Okay. There's a request 6, 7, 8. Interesting that each one of these does a query on LTS. Huh. That's kind of surprising. That is kind of surprising. Okay, well, we'll let that guy roll. I think given that it is a little past midnight here, I might go and crash, and hopefully we get this guy rocking and rolling through. Let's see here. Library Electronet allows make from web app to the desktop application, open in a window, start the server afterwards, and if not, kill process from the JS part, need to kill from C# part. Oh. That, let's see. Allow make from web app to desktop application, open in a window, and start server afterwards. Yeah, so here, let me show you this code in here real quick. You might be able to leverage something in here. So this is it's similar but not quite what you're describing. So this XAML test project is a weird one in that it's both used as a library as well as a WPF launched desktop application. But when the desktop application launches, it pulls in the it pulls in the command line arguments to be able to launch a server looking on a particular named pipe. Now, in this case, the named pipe in question is based around the process ID. That way, the client and server have some sort of agreement about which way things are going to go. But there's no reason that that value could get passed in. Yeah, you're probably best off trying to kill the process from the C# side, but that's more around. I'm more familiar with C#. The hard part will be communicating which process to kill. Like at the end of the day, what you're really looking for is grabbing the. Ideally, process ID is probably the uniquest way to pass it around if you can, or if you've got a handle to it as well is another way. So I'm less familiar with Electron Net though, so there may be APIs and whatnot that I'm just unaware of. So I don't know if that was overly helpful or not. Hopefully it maybe a little bit. But yeah. With that said though, I think I am going to go crash, get some sleep, ready for yet another weekend of work and coding. As always, everyone, thank you for coming and hanging out. I appreciate all the questions and interaction. Always fun to discuss anything tech related. So, as always, happy coding. See everyone next time.